Mac grows up in a family where his father, a tyrant, mistreats his mother and frequently beats the boy. One day, after another beating, a neighbor stops the young boy and, offering him some pie, advises him to turn to God because good fathers don't behave that way. Mac follows her advice and shares his father's behavior with the church. That same night, his father beats him again, which becomes the final straw for Mac. He goes to the pantry and pours poison into all of his father's alcohol bottles. Many years pass, and Mac, now an adult, is raising 3 children with his wife Nan, Josh, Kate, and Missy. Every Sunday they attend church and refer to God as their father. One winter day, Mac is clearing the driveway of snow when he finds a strange letter in the mailbox, inviting him to visit for the weekend, supposedly from Father. There is no traces of how the letter got there, and Mac is puzzled. As he walks back to the house, he slips, falls, hits his head, and loses consciousness. The story then shifts to a summer day when Mac takes his children on a picnic to a local national park by the lake. Nan can't join them due to work, and she hopes Mac will handle it on his own. The family arrives at the lake and meets other vacationers. In the morning, the older children go boating, and Missy starts drawing. However, when Kate stands up in the boat, it capsized, and Josh, entangled in a strap, can't swim to safety. Mac rushes to save his son and pulls him to the shore, but Missy is missing. The man starts looking for his daughter, but his search is not successful. Police officers with dogs arrive when Mac finds a ladybug pin on the table, which doesn't belong to his daughter. That's when the police confess that there is a maniac in the area kidnapping little girls. Soon, the FBI joins the search. Nan arrives and tries to console the family when a blood-stained dress belonging to Missy is found high in the mountains in an abandoned cabin. The story returns to the present day, with Mac regaining consciousness near his mailbox holding the mysterious letter. He decides to confront his neighbor, Willie, to find out who played this prank, but Willie claims he didn't write the letter. Later, the rest of the family returns home. Josh immediately goes to see his girlfriend, while Kate quietly retreats to her room. Following the summer tragedy, Kate has become withdrawn and hardly communicates with her father. Nan suggests taking her to a psychologist and invites Mac to join them, as she doesn't want to lose him either. However, Mac declines. Mac goes to the post office, but they reject the letter due to its missing postage stamp. Frustrated, he decides to visit the cabin and talk to the mysterious father. He asks Willie for a car for this purpose. On his way, Mac narrowly avoids a car accident and miraculously swerves past a truck to continue his journey. Soon he reaches a snow-covered forest and, armed with a pistol, heads towards a cabin. Inside, there is no one, but upon seeing old bloodstains on the floor, the man angrily reproaches God for not being able to bury his child properly, as the girl's body was never found. In complete despair, he points the gun to his own head. Just then, he is distracted by a deer that peeks in through the door. Stepping outside, Mac spots a distant figure, a man, and hides with his pistol at the ready. However, the stranger suddenly addresses him by name and beckons him to come along. Perplexed, Mac follows the stranger and transitions from the snowy winter to a paradise-like forest, surrounded by flowers and greenery where birds sing and a cabin stands. Inside, he is greeted by the childhood neighbor who used to treat him to pie. She introduces herself as Father and introduces him to his son, Jesus, and a girl named Saraya. When asked which of them is God, they answer together, "We are." Mac cries, unable to comprehend if this is real or just an illusion, and Saraya wipes away his tears. The man is so astonished that he doesn't want to wake up. Jesus shows him a letter and thanks him for visiting. Mac doesn't have to do anything and can engage in whatever he pleases, fishing, conversing with Father, or helping Saraya in the garden. The choices are his alone. Mac returns home, unsure if he is dead. However, the hostess denies this conclusion and says she loves him. The man confesses that he pictured God differently, with a beard, but the woman laughs. She can appear in various forms and asks the guy to help with a test. She knows there's now a gap between them, and she wants to heal him, although the pain can't be instantly and permanently erased. Mac blames her for what happened to Missy and can't forgive her. She reminds him that when a person only sees their pain, they don't notice God. But the man stubbornly sticks to his opinion. God often abandons those he loves. That's when God shows him the mark on his hand. He never left Jesus and was always with him, just like with Missy. Mac departs, but the woman follows him, reminding him that birds are born to fly, and he is born to love and be loved. Later, everyone gathers around the table. They talk about Mac's children, and for the first time, the man relaxes a bit. Later, Jesus leads him to the backyard and shows him his creation, the starry sky. Mac feels at ease with him, and Jesus reminds him that he's human, merely a conduit to Father and Sariah, who are responsible for creation and movement. At night, Mac dreams of Missy and wakes up in tears, but all around is peace, and Father invites him to the table. Like any parents, they're upset with their children, but sin is punishment in itself, and they turn everything into a blessing. Mac is angry. Can there be anything good in the death of a child? To this, Father pities Mac. His tragedy is that he doesn't believe in God's goodness. Mac wants to leave, but Sariah stops him. They want to help him, but he doesn't allow it. Maybe before he leaves, he could help her in the garden. The girl leads him to a place filled with a variety of beautiful plants, all scattered chaotically. Mac sees this as chaos, but also finds it beautiful. Sariah argues that the chaos is within him. Together, they prepare a plot to plant something in honor of the holiday, while the girl asks Mac to define for himself what is good and what is evil. Mac defines good as what helps him and evil as what harms him. He's the judge, and he never makes mistakes. There are billions of people, each considering their good right, leading to wars. Can God handle all this on his own? Mac had a completely different vision. Mac begins to contemplate Sariah's words for the first time without anger, when Jesus suggests they go to the other side to fish. However, while out in the middle of the lake, Mac suddenly sees his boat filling with a dark, threatening liquid that threatens to sink him. Panicking, he sees Jesus walking on water towards him. He implores Mac to calm down and rid himself of his inner evil. As soon as he trusts Jesus, he gains the ability to walk on water himself. Mac doesn't understand what's happening because the Bible and religion portray the Savior differently. Jesus replies that he doesn't need slaves, but friends, and that religion only complicates things. He reminds Mac that he's always there, so there's no need to do everything alone. Later, Jesus leads him deep into the forest and shows him a path he must follow. Mac proceeds, encounters a mountain, and passes through it. Inside, a woman sits on a high throne. Her name is Wisdom. She suggests that Mac become a judge for a while and conduct a review of human actions, deciding whom to punish and whom to pardon. Showing Mac his father, who abused him and his mother, she asks if he is guilty. Mac responds affirmatively. Then Wisdom shows a little boy who was brutally abused by his father and inquires about his guilt. Mac completely exonerates the child, but it turns out that this is Mac's father in his own childhood, who was also tormented by his father. So, Mac had already judged and acquitted him, and he beat his own son to try to suppress his own childhood pain. Wisdom shows the villain who killed his daughter, and Mac is ready to cast him into hell. But if you start judging all the criminals, their parents, their relatives, back to the first generation, it could lead to the extermination of the entire human race. Nevertheless, Mac is convinced that God is responsible for everything. So, Wisdom suggests that he choose which of his children will go to hell, Kate or Josh. His daughter doesn't talk to him, and his son doesn't listen. Mac can't make the choice and offers to send himself to hell. So, he considers his children deserving of love and is willing to take their sins upon himself. But the same sentiment is felt by God. Evil constantly occurs in the world, and God cannot intervene in everything. Sometimes he must simply accept it. Mac understands and refuses to judge, and then Wisdom shows him a vast field of flowers with children playing, among whom a joyful Missy is frolicking. Mac wants to know if she forgives him for not protecting her, and he receives the answer that the girl doesn't blame him or her loved ones. Mac stands beneath the waterfall, and pain, fear, and guilt leave him. He returns to the cabin and asks for forgiveness from Father. She says she can turn adversity into good, but it's not her who causes the problems, and she cannot be angry with him because she loves him. In the evening, God, Jesus, and Sariah lead him to a field where he meets his father and forgives him. The next morning, an elderly man wakes him up. This is a new aspect of God who asks Mac to take the next step and forgive the criminal. Mac cannot accept this, but God reminds him that forgiving doesn't mean becoming friends. It means letting go of the anger. Mac speaks the words of forgiveness, after which Father shows him where Missy's body is hidden. They wrap her in a white shroud, place her in a coffin, and bury her in the heavenly garden. Sariah pours Mac's tears into the ground, and at that spot, flowers and a large, beautiful tree grow. Returning to the cabin, Father asks if Mac is ready to go back home. If he stays here, he will be with Missy today, but she lives in a land of eternal patience and can wait. However, his loved ones cannot. Mac compares the two worlds and decides to return home, bidding farewell with the punishment to be more attentive to Kate since she blames herself for her sister's death. But they have always been, are, and will be there by his side. Mac comes to his senses in the middle of the cold cabin. He sits in his car, drives on the highway, and suddenly gets hit by a truck. Waking up in the hospital, he sees his neighbor Willie, who tells him that he never made it to the cabin because he was in an accident, but Mac objects and asks to call his family. Then he asks to be left alone with Kate. For the first time, she admits that she constantly thinks that if she hadn't stepped into the boat, her little sister would still be alive. But her father denies her words. None of them are to blame, and they can continue to live. He tells his wife that he saw God in Missy, conveying the content of their conversations. His wife unquestioningly believes him. From that day on, the family lives differently. The pain has finally let go. Mac allows himself to be happy and enjoy every moment spent with his family. And sometimes, he takes off his shoes and tries to walk on water. Who knows? Maybe it'll work. A complex and heavy film. Each person goes through a challenging journey to free themselves from some burden, grief, despair, guilt, fear. Otherwise, all of this blocks a person's energy, preventing them from giving and receiving love. You need to learn how to forgive and let go, even the most terrible things that sometimes happen in life, because otherwise, why live?